The Thompson family's annual gathering was in full bloom inside my aunt's palatial estate. The chime of fine crystal echoed through the grand halls, designer heels echoed off polished marble, and the room pulsed with a familiar blend of wealth and quiet scrutiny. I sat tucked away in a corner, dressed in a modest black dress, slowly sipping champagne as I observed my relatives flaunt their achievements like strutting showbirds. "Anna, sweetheart," my Aunt Victoria's voice oozed with faint concern. "Still dabbling in that consulting gig?" Before I could get a word in, my cousin Sophia swooped in, her diamond bracelet catching a glint as she waved a hand in mock disbelief. "Can you imagine?" she said loudly, enough for nearby ears to catch. 10 years since college, and she's still stuck as some low-level consultant. I took another measured sip, the flavor sharp but satisfying. At that very moment, several high-value contracts lay on my desk back at the Phoenix Consulting Group headquarters, contracts tied to an upcoming merger poised to make industry history. But none of that mattered to them. "Not just yet. At least she has a job," boomed Uncle Richard from across the room. "Though, God only knows what kind of consulting she actually does. Probably helping mom-and-pop shops set up Facebook pages, or whatever." Laughter spread politely around the room. My eyes drifted toward my mother, trying to blend into the wallpaper. She had never truly come to terms with me rejecting the vice president role at Thompson Industries, the family enterprise. "How's that major merger going?" I asked lightly, watching Sophia and Uncle Richard exchange smug, knowing looks. "Oh, you've heard." Sophia perked up. "Dad's been working on it for months. We're finalizing everything tomorrow with Phoenix Consulting Group. It's going to transform Thompson Industries," Uncle Richard declared proudly. "The biggest move in our company's history. Though no one seems to know much about Phoenix's CEO, bit of a mystery figure apparently." I tilted my glass, just enough to hide the smile forming on my lips. "How fascinating," I murmured. "Speaking of achievements," Aunt Victoria interjected, "did you hear about Marcus? He's just been promoted to senior executive at Thompson, following the family legacy, unlike some others." "Yes, Marcus. Currently sweating over due diligence files my team had sent for review last week." "And Isabella," Sophia added, "she's now head of operations. Practically everyone in the family's an executive now, except poor Anna, still calling herself what? A business consultant." "Something like that," I said evenly. Just then my phone buzzed. A message from my CFO. I excused myself and stepped outside into the garden, where fairy lights shimmered under the twilight. "Yes, everything's set." I spoke into the phone. "Have the final documents ready by 9. And James, make sure the conference room has a full skyline view. I want them to see exactly who they're negotiating with." When I returned inside, the family had shifted the conversation to their favorite pastime, wealth comparison. Uncle Richard was glowing. 20 billion market cap, he bragged. "And after tomorrow, 30. That's real success." My mother's voice, small but clear, finally emerged. "Anna's doing just fine." "Fine." Aunt Victoria laughed sharply. "Oh, Patricia, darling, when will you accept that your daughter chose poorly? She could have been someone in this family's legacy." I glanced at my watch. Just 18 hours to go. 18 hours until they discovered that the elusive firm they were so eager to merge with wasn't some nameless powerhouse, it was mine. That their future hinged on the same cousin they brushed aside with backhanded sympathy and smug grins. "Another glass, Anna?" Sophia offered, voice syrupy with condescension. "Might as well indulge. Not sure if your job comes with drinks like these." I accepted the champagne and thought about the curated wine cellar in my penthouse. Its collection alone could pay off her car. "You're right," I said smoothly. "This is quite exquisite." As the night wore on, the subtle digs didn't stop. Every sneer about my career, every shallow joke about consulting, every glance heavy with pity, I filed them all away. Tomorrow, they'd make the reveal even sweeter. "Don't forget about tomorrow's contract signing, Daddy," Sophia called as the party wound down. 10 sharp. Phoenix Consulting's HQ. "As if I'd forget," Uncle Richard responded, his voice laced with anticipation. "Still wish we knew more about the CEO we're about to meet. Seems like a real recluse." "Very private indeed," I said, collecting my coat. "Best of luck tomorrow. I have a feeling it'll be unforgettable." Morning arrived. I stepped into the gleaming lobby of Phoenix Consulting Group at precisely 7 a.m. 60 stories of glass and steel stretched toward the clouds, crowned with our logo, bold and unmistakable. In my top-floor office, I exchanged my casual wear for a sharp Armani suit, examining my reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows. "Miss Thompson," said Michael, my executive assistant, entering with a stack of documents. "Thompson Industries will be here in 2 hours. Your team's ready for the pre-brief." "Excellent," I replied, fastening the sleek CEO pin I never bothered to wear at family gatherings. "Any update from Uncle Richard?" I asked. "He's been calling nonstop, trying to sniff out details about the CEO. Safe to say, he's not thrilled about the radio silence." I chuckled, recalling his booming confidence from the night before. $20 billion in market value, he'd said. Meanwhile, Phoenix had quietly tripled that, our true worth tucked safely behind strategic privacy. At 8:30, I gathered my core leadership team in the briefing room. These were the trailblazers who had helped me build Phoenix from the ground up, visionaries who believed in me when my own relatives didn't. "All right, everyone," I began. "Today should be fun. Thompson Industries has no idea who they're about to sit across from. Let's make this flawless. Even the part where your uncle tried to undercut us on the original offer?" James, my CFO, grinned. "Especially that part," I replied, recalling how low their first bid had been. "Let's have the real figures on standby." At 9:45, security buzzed in. "They've arrived," came the voice from the monitor. I switched to the security feed and watched them enter the lobby. Uncle Richard led the group, followed by Sophia, Marcus, and a cluster of board members. "Would you look at this place?" Sophia's voice rang through the speakers. "Can't believe a consulting company owns all this." "The CEO must be sitting on gold," Marcus added. "Did you know they own the whole building?" "Just keep your game face on," Uncle Richard warned. "We need this deal. Play it smart." I turned off the monitor and addressed my team. "Places, everyone. Time to show them what Phoenix is really made of." The Thompson team was first guided through our showcase hall, a gallery of success metrics. Offices in 40 countries, a workforce over 10,000 strong, and a client roster that read like the Fortune 500. From behind the concealed surveillance screens, I observed their reactions closely as the reality of where they were and who they were dealing with began to dawn on them. Uncle Richard's cocky grin had faded just slightly. Sophia, clearly uneasy, was glued to her phone, desperately trying to dig up any shred of information about the elusive CEO of Phoenix. At exactly 9:59 a.m., Michael escorted them to the executive boardroom. The space had been deliberately crafted to leave an impression. Sweeping views of the city skyline through towering windows, a vast table made from rare African blackwood, and cutting-edge technology embedded into every corner of the room. "The CEO will be joining you shortly," Michael said smoothly, the corners of his mouth twitching upward ever so slightly. From behind the one-way glass, I watched as they took their seats. Uncle Richard slid confidently into the head position, my seat. "How poetic." "This is bigger than we anticipated," Marcus murmured under his breath, eyeing the stats on the screens. "Their numbers are unbelievable." "It's just a consultancy," Uncle Richard replied, though there was a noticeable crack in his tone. Sophia was still furiously scrolling on her phone. "There's barely anything out there," she said, frustrated. "No interviews, no photos. Just that the founder started it a decade ago from scratch." I checked my reflection one last time. The woman staring back at me bore no resemblance to the modest figure from last night's family gathering. This was the architect of an empire, cloaked in silence while they all looked away. "It's time," I told Michael. He gave a sharp nod and entered the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "please stand to welcome the CEO of Phoenix Consulting Group." Squaring my shoulders, I reached for the door handles. It was time to show them exactly who they'd been underestimating all these years. As the double doors swung open, my heels echoed sharply across the marble, each step deliberate. The reaction was priceless. Uncle Richard's jaw dropped. Sophia's phone slipped from her hand, clattering against the polished wood. Marcus, halfway out of his seat, slowly collapsed back into it as though gravity had gotten heavier. "Good morning," I said calmly, walking to the head of the table and pausing in front of Uncle Richard. "That's my chair. Please have a seat over there." He scrambled to his feet, clearly shaken. Anna, you're the CEO of Phoenix. I nodded once. The mysterious executive you've been trying so hard to uncover. The one whose signature you'll need to move forward. Sophia looked like she was about to faint. Her high-end outfit suddenly looked cheap next to my custom-tailored suit. But last night, you said, she stuttered. I said I was a consultant. I corrected her. I just didn't mention that I own the consultancy. The largest in the world, in fact. My leadership team entered the room and took their places around the table. Every one of them had seen my family's subtle insults and dismissive treatment over the years. Today, they were here for the reveal. I flipped open the merger file. Now, let's talk about the actual terms of this deal. Uncle Richard frowned. We already reached an agreement. No, I said, meeting his eyes. You settled on a draft with my team. After last night's illuminating family gathering, I made a few revisions. James stepped forward, handing out the updated contracts. As Marcus skimmed the numbers, he choked on his water. This is extortion, Uncle Richard barked, his face a deep shade of crimson. It's a fair valuation, I replied calmly. Unlike you, I have a complete understanding of Thompson Industries' true financials, including the parts you've conveniently left out. Sophia flipped frantically through the packet. The pension deficit, the unreported foreign accounts. Did you think my team wouldn't uncover it all during the audit? I asked, my voice steady. We found the offshore accounts, the shell corporations, and the falsified asset reports. Silence gripped the room. Only the rustle of pages and quiet gasps remained as they absorbed just how thorough we had been. You planned this, Marcus accused. You've been waiting for this moment. Planning? I echoed. No. I was busy building something capable of buying your legacy 10 times over. I walked to the window and looked out at the cityscape. For 10 years, you belittled my career, rolled your eyes at my success, and dismissed me as irrelevant. Meanwhile, I created something your company could never dream of becoming. Turning back to face them, I asked, would you like to know Phoenix's actual market cap? The figure we don't disclose publicly. Uncle Richard gave a weak nod. $65 billion, I said quietly. More than triple Thompson's current valuation. I paused for effect. The champagne you served last night? I own the vineyard that produces it. The estate where you hosted the reunion, built on land I purchased last year. Sophia looked as though her lungs had stopped working. All those family events. I added. You were entertaining your fiercest competitor the whole time. The irony is delicious. I took my seat once more and looked around the table. You now have 2 options. Sign the updated agreement, which gives Phoenix a controlling stake in Thompson Industries, or walk away. But I'd consider what will happen to your stock price when word spreads that the deal fell through. Uncle Richard looked completely deflated. The arrogance was gone, replaced by quiet defeat. This isn't a real choice, he said. It's the exact same choice you gave me, I replied coolly. When I turned down that VP position 10 years ago. Accept the future, or get left behind. I pushed the contracts toward them. 10 minutes. Decide. Then I turned to Sophia, smiling sweetly. Oh, and that nobody consultant you mocked last night? She now owns your executive parking space. The following minutes passed in uncomfortable quiet. Finally, Uncle Richard picked up the pen. You've won, he said in a low voice. No, I said, standing again. I won a long time ago. You're just now catching up. After the documents were signed, my security team escorted them out. I watched their exit through the lobby monitors, shoulders hunched, confidence shattered. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Is it true? Did you really build all of this? I typed my reply. Yes. And the next family reunion will be at my place. I think it's time they saw what a nobody consultant is truly capable of. As I stood at the window, looking out over the skyline that now belonged in part to me, I smiled to myself. Success doesn't ask for permission. Sometimes it grows quietly, tucked away from the noise, until it's too powerful to overlook. Michael, I called out, send a case of last night's champagne to my family with the receipt. They should understand exactly how much humility costs these days.